guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns and Guitars. And as many of you guys know, whenever I am demoing a guitar or a piece of guitar gear, I typically plug directly into Logic Pro using their built-in amp simulation. Well, today that's actually not the case. The tone that you guys just heard was not coming from Logic Pro. In fact, it was coming from this Donner Mini guitar amp. This thing will set you back about $39, and it's got a rechargeable battery, MP3 input, headphone output. Pretty dang good little package for $39. So I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. Let's take a closer look at it. Now, the head of Donner Music Company reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in reviewing this little mini guitar amp. And my first inclination was, oh, hell no. That thing is going to suck. And actually, what changed my mind was purely selfish motive. I was actually thinking, I do a lot of like wiring hacks and mods and things like that to the guitars that I'm building, and I rarely get the wiring done on the first try. So I will end up bringing my guitar in to test to see if I did it right, and I didn't. I did it wrong. Like the first 7 tries, I've done it wrong. And then I have to take it back out to my workshop, flip some wires around, bring it back in, and I keep going through this process. And so I was thinking, man, it'd be really nice to have a little tiny guitar amp that just sits on my workbench that I can plug my guitars into while I'm working on them and troubleshoot them and test them as I go. How convenient is that, right? So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll review your amp, just knowing that it'd probably just end up being a tool in my shed. But I actually found another good use for it. It does have an auxiliary input, and it comes with a 3.5 millimeter cable. So you can hook up your music device, and it's designed so you hook up your music device, and then as you're playing guitar, you can kind of jam along with some tunes that you're trying to learn or whatever, But I was like, well, this thing's going to live in my workshop. Why not turn it into just a music box so that I can plug my phone or music player into it and listen to tunes? And so that's what it does. It sits in my workshop, and I use it to test my wiring electronics, and I use it to listen to music while I'm working. The only problem is that I'm lame, and I have an iPhone 8, which does not have a headphone jack. So to hook it up, I actually had to do this little hack with this little Bluetooth receiver that I got on Amazon for like $15. So that's my wiring hack, is that I just plug this thing in, and then I've got an awesome little Bluetooth jam box. Listen to some tunes.
Don't stop, even if you can't dance, just hold my hips, hold my hips.
So, not too bad. Sound quality, I would say, is right on par with just about any Bluetooth speaker box in the $40 to $50 price range, which is shocking because that's not what it's designed for. So there's not like high fidelity speakers and tweeters and stuff in here. There's just a 1.5-inch speaker, and it's designed to be used as a guitar amp, not a Bluetooth speaker box. So that's just one of the ways that I've found that this thing is actually totally worth the money. So aside from being just another tool in my shed to troubleshoot my terrible wiring and soldering skills, or as just a Bluetooth speaker to listen to tunes while I'm working, actually the number one thing that I've ended up using it for is a guitar amp. Go figure. I know, right? Crazy. But it's true. I mean, I find myself reaching for this thing more often than plugging into my other amps for a few reasons. One, because it's ultra portable, I can do things like take it outside and jam on it while I'm watching my kids play. I can also use it to kill some time while I'm cooking up a fresh gourmet lunch for them. Taquitos are ready. And the more that I jam on this thing, the more that I realize that it actually doesn't sound all that bad. Obviously, it's not the best sounding guitar amp, but for a portable little $39 jam box, well, I had very low expectations, and it does in fact sound like a guitar amp. So I'm gonna run through the settings for you real quick, just so you guys can get a good idea of what this thing sounds like. Now, there's just about no way that I could mic up a 1.5-inch speaker and have it sound good. So what I'm doing, I'm actually just coming directly out of the headphones output and into my recording interface. So if you plug some headphones into your phone or tablet or whatever device you're watching this on, then your experience is going to be the exact same as if you plugged your headphones into this device. So like I said, there's no good way to demo the speaker for you guys, but at least you guys get a good idea of what this thing sounds like as a headphone amp. All right, let's go ahead and start with the clean setting. Okay, Okay, now I'm going to show you my favorite setting. This is with the distortion turned on, but the gain set really low, just to like 1 or 2. So I like it because it's really touch sensitive. So when you're playing with a light touch, it's nice and clean, but then when you dig in, it really breaks up. And here's the distortion setting with the gain cranked all the way up to max. The setting's also good for some scorching lead tones. Gosh, I stink at this. Okay, the number one question I get asked whenever I'm demoing guitar gear is, does it also work for bass? And well, for a portable 1.5-inch speaker, it doesn't have a whole lot of low end, but when you're using it as a headphone amp, like we are right now, it works just fine. Click on the distortion. Actually sounds halfway decent with distortion, kind of some Muse sort of tones. Now, as good as this little guitar amp sounds, I do have a few criticisms. Firstly, the controls are really weird on it. It's got an on master volume switch, so you powers it on and it's also the master volume. That's normal. Then it also has an on and volume for the distortion channel, but then it also has a switch for the distortion on the back, and you have to have them both on in order for your distortion to work, so that doesn't make any sense to me. Then you have a tone knob, which does absolutely nothing. I don't know if mine's broken or if they're all like this, but the tone knob really does nothing. So whether it's on the clean channel, distortion channel, minimum, maximum, no difference in tone. And then lastly is the gain. That one works just fine. That's for your distortion channel. You can choose anywhere between a lightly overdriven tone to full-on distortion, as I demoed for you guys. So the volume and the gain work great. The distortion volume on switch, totally pointless because you also control your distortion volume with the master volume. So that is completely pointless. You don't need that. And the tone knob doesn't work, so that's pointless too. My other criticism is, in the world of Bluetooth technology, nobody uses a 3.5mm jack anymore. That's why Apple decided to get rid of it from their iPhones. So I would love to see this thing have Bluetooth. Of course, I came up with my own little hack using this little Bluetooth receiver thing that I got on Amazon for $15. I'll put a link in the description to that, as well as this guitar amp, if you are interested in turning your guitar amp or any non-Bluetooth speaker or non-Bluetooth headphones into Bluetooth headphones. You can use this little guy. So that was my problem-solving hack for that. And then lastly, there's no low battery indicator. So the only way that you know that it's running out of battery is if your audio starts to degrade in quality. So if it starts to kind of fart out, distort a little bit, volume kind of starts to drop, that's when you know it's time to charge. Now, the charging cable that it comes with is just a micro USB cable. It does not come with a wall adapter, so this is just an iPhone adapter. It works fine for charging it, or you can just, plug the USB directly into your computer and charge it that way. So overall charge time is about 2 hours from completely dead to completely charged, and then it lasts a long time on a charge. I've had this thing for about 3 months, maybe 4 months, and I've probably charged it a total of 3 times, which is pretty good considering that I listen to music on it all the time and I jam on it all the time. So battery life is pretty dang good. Overall volume, I would say on the clean channel is comparable to a loud acoustic guitar. So if you wanted to bring an electric guitar to an acoustic jam session, this thing would be perfect. The distortion channel gets a little bit louder. So if you're wanting to go jam on a street corner, as long as it's not a super busy street corner, this thing will probably do the job just fine. So, but again, probably the best use for this is just as a headphone amp. Plug in your music, and then you can practice to tunes in your bedroom late at night when your kids are sleeping, and you don't have to crank your tube amp all the way up to the sweet spot to get the good tone and wake up your kids. You can just use this thing and just rock out to your heart's content, right? So that's what I use it for, and I am shocked at how much I like this little thing. Like I said, it's not perfect, but for $39, I think it's pretty freaking cool. So I'm keeping it. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this review. I'm Dan. This is Guns and Guitars, and I'll see you later.